When Joseph Smith Jr. was 17 years old, his older brother Alvin began building a new frame house for their struggling family. Joseph looked up to his brother, who was a friend and mentor to him. Late in the fall of 1823, work on the new house suddenly stopped as Alvin fell ill. The local doctor could do nothing. After only 5 days of failing health, Alvin died. Though devoutly Christian, several of the Smiths, including Alvin, had long refused to join a specific church. Now, the minister at Alvin's funeral used stern language.
The minister preached my brother's funeral sermon and intimated very strongly that he had gone to hell, for Alvin was not a church member.
Joseph Sr. felt the sharp sting of this harsh judgment on his eldest son. But what was Alvin's fate? Would a merciful God truly damn him simply because he wasn't baptized? On the other hand, would a just God alter the laws of salvation even for a good man? The Smith family would remain uncertain regarding Alvin's status for 13 years. Their uncertainty would turn to joy in early 1836. Joseph and others gathered in the newly completed Kirtland Temple. The prophet saw a vision of the celestial kingdom and the righteous who dwelt there. To his amazement, Alvin stood among them.
I marveled how it was that he had obtained an inheritance in that kingdom, seeing that he had not been baptized for the remission of sins.
The revelation showed God's mercy. Heaven would not be denied for good people. But if the Lord required baptism, how could Alvin be admitted? The answer came 4 years later in Illinois. The bustling city of Nauvoo was beginning to take shape, and hopeful saints were gathering in great numbers. Amid optimism and excitement, the community grieved to learn that local church leader Seymour Brunson had died. Hundreds turned out as Joseph delivered a funeral sermon for his friend. Simon Baker stood in the congregation that day. He remembered that the prophet spoke of the joy of the gospel and read long passages from the New Testament.
Then he remarked that he saw a widow in that congregation that had a son who died without being baptized.
But unlike those spoken at Alvin's funeral, these words were not meant to sting.
He then said that this widow should have glad tiding. People could now act for their friends who had departed this life.
The widow that the prophet singled out may well have been Jane Nyman. She became the first documented person to be baptized for a deceased loved one, as she was baptized on behalf of her child. The Holy Ghost moved the saints of Nauvoo to turn their hearts to their beloved ancestors.
I saw the elders baptizing for the dead in the Mississippi River. Brother Joseph stood on the banks holding a child in his arms.
All of the inhabitants of Nauvoo met on the banks of the Mississippi River, just behind the Smith house, for the purpose of baptizing for the dead.
The moment I heard of it, my soul leaped for joy.